Good evening, I'm Annabelle Lund. Well, the budget is approved. The Assembly last night agreed to spend $95 million next year to run the city. That includes increases in the police budget, social service agencies, the school budget, and insurance costs. The city's budget is larger than last year's spending document, but not by much. Assembly members tried hard this year to keep costs of running the city on par with what was spent last year. Last night, the panel agreed to increase funding for social service agencies to $270,000. Those monies will be divided between 14 local groups like REACH, AWARE, and Big Brothers Big Sisters. Dramatically increased city insurance costs were figured in last night. That accounts for another $250,000 city officials had not expected to have to spend next year. The Juneau Police Department will also extend its area of operations out to Fred Meyers. That means an addition of a dozen officers with an attendant price tag of $680,000. And the city still has to figure out how to deal with the tremendous shortfall in state dollars next year. Of the $69 million Juneau had asked for in capital improvement monies, only $6 million was funded. That leaves huge gaps in ongoing basic services such as water and sewer projects, school improvements, and road work, not to mention the $17 million Bartlett Memorial Hospital project. There is $6 million for capital improvements work in the budget already. And it looks like voters may have to decide in the polling place which projects they would be willing to fund through general obligation bonding. The city will have to select the projects to appear on October's ballot by midsummer.
On the school portion of the budget, a compromise was reached. Assembly members on Friday had tentatively pegged a $7 million figure for the local contribution to schools. However, school district officials said they needed $481,000 more, or they would have to start cutting into existing school programs. The Assembly ended up approving $7.35 million for the schools, and district officials say even if they keep maintenance and personnel costs at the current year's level, they'll still have to cut $131,000 to $335,000 from existing programs. Assemblymember Bruce Botello says the schools got a fair appropriation with a larger increase than other city functions.
This year, it's an 18.5% increase in local support over last year, which again was a substantial increase over the previous year. We have a real trend towards hefty increases for education.
Mayor Fran Ulmer said the Assembly was trying to balance their consciences, and the real question was how much can the city, with limited revenues, afford to pay for schools. School Board President Rosie Peterson is not happy with their answer.
We're going to have to cut programs, and we're going to have to look at certain programs. We're going to have to look at community schools programs. We're going to have to take a look at the sports program. We're going to have to take a look at art. We're going to have to take a look at music. We're going to have to take a look at PE specialists in the elementary.
The district had planned on hiring 10.5 new teachers next year, mainly to lower the teacher-student ratios. Peterson says those positions now seem very unlikely. For the Alaska Network, I'm Sharon Kale.
In other business last night, the Assembly recommended the Channel Apartment site as the location for the new Juneau Regional Library. The site would cost $1.3 million. Those speaking in favor of the location say it is conveniently located, has adequate access and parking, and is large enough to accommodate future expansion. The apartments do house low and moderate income residents, though, and the Assembly last night ordered city staff to prepare a report on alternative housing for those displaced residents. While the Juneau School District is predicting the city will need a new middle school and a new high school in the next few years, that's part of the information contained in a 6-year capital improvements plan that's up for final approval at tonight's school board meeting. Sharon Kale reports.
Question.
Each year, the district is required to submit a 6-year capital improvement plan to the State Department of Education and the city and borough. The idea is to give both bodies an overview of what kind of projects and what kind of financing the district will be needing in upcoming years. And the 6-year plan that comes before the board tonight outlines a need for more classrooms and more schools due to projected higher enrollment in local schools. According to the plan, the district's total enrollment for the current school year is 4,590. By the 1991-92 school year, the plan projects district enrollment will reach 7,177. And as a result, it's predicting a need for up to 69 new elementary school classrooms, 22 middle school classrooms, and 13 new high school rooms by 1991. The capital improvement priorities laid out in the plan for fiscal year 1987 include, number one, $3.34 million for district-wide fire and safety code improvements And number 2 priority, $18.7 million for a new middle school. Or as a contingency plan, a $500,000 for additions to the existing 2 Juneau middle schools. For fiscal year 1989, the plan says the district should seek $27 million for a new high school. The school board approved the plan in its first reading with just minor changes. The board meets tonight at 7 in the high school commons area. For the Alaska Network, I'm Sharon Kale.
Belle Blue is back in the courtroom. Blue has filed a lawsuit against members of the Borough Assembly that okayed the construction contract for Juneau's downtown parking garage. In a lawsuit filed yesterday in Juneau Superior Court, Blue says those 9 Assembly members agreed to a contract in violation of the city charter. And she says those individuals should have to pay the costs of a contract illegally let. That amounts to $3.2 million. Divided between current Assembly members Fran Ulmer, Kay Diebel, Peter Freer, Bruce Botello, Jamie Parsons, and Rich Poore, and former Assembly members Ed Kowara and Hugh Grant. The city charter does say city officials who knowingly spend city money illegally must reimburse city coffers. Superior Court Judge Rod Pegues has not filed a ruling in the parking garage lawsuit yet, but has indicated the garage contract may have violated city law.
Oh, light beer, please. Not just any light beer. Make it a Rainier light.
If you don't drink this light beer, honey, you ain't got the thing. If the fruit do make your breath, son, go easy on your way. You gotta try this Rainier light.
Discover how Mountain Fresh light beer can taste. It was the golden age of television, but it was Alan Swan's last hurrah.
I get away with murder.
I'm supposed to watch you.
Good, watch this.
Peter O'Toole is Alan Swan.
You can either watch me or join me. One of them's more fun. Good evening. Do have a life.
The larger-than-life swashbuckling actor
I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star!
who comes crashing down to earth for My Favorite Year.
Coming soon on Channel 8.
Discover the beauty of Alaska with Channel Flying. Channel Flying serves Southeast Alaska with regularly scheduled daily flights to many area communities such as Angoon, Cake, Tenakee Springs, and Elfin Cove, plus regularly scheduled flights to other communities. Catch one of Channel Flying's scheduled flights or charter your own. Channel Flying has a variety of aircraft, from the Cessna 180s to the 9-passenger Grumman Goose. You can depend on Channel Flying, the most experienced air service in Southeast Alaska. Call 586-3331 for reservations.
Big increases may be in store for both the Juneau and Anchorage police departments. Lawmakers have decreed that starting in July of 1987, local police in both those cities will have to patrol areas now covered by the Alaska State Troopers. Bob Ortega reports.
Lawmakers have mandated that state troopers stop providing protection to communities that have local police powers starting in July year after next. The cities in question:
Juneau and Anchorage, and the city of Wasilla just voted first class, but they have a year to put together a police department.
In Alaska's largest city, it's the South Anchorage area, including Hillside, that's affected. Residents there will have to decide whether to tax themselves to provide police protection once the 28 troopers assigned to that area move out.
The Anchorage post may be terminated completely, and the officers transferred to the detachment in Palmer.
In Juneau, a citizens panel recommends doubling the police department budget and expanding the staff from 43 people to 72. Some troopers will stay in Juneau for general duties across Southeast. Sundberg says he doesn't think the intent of the legislature was to shrink the troopers. They'll try to reassign officers rather than cut their positions.
Certain communities or parts of the state could actually gain troopers as a result of this.
Yes, that's very possible.
Sundberg does warn that because lawmakers funded only 80% of proposed salaries for next year, up to 15 troopers could be laid off. He says that's a cost-cutting measure of last resort. For Capitol View and the Alaska Network in Juneau, I'm Bob Ortega.
Juneau voters have repeatedly rejected expanding the local police department to serve area-wide residents. Now the legislature is taking the question out of local hands, and Juneau Police Chief Joe Serrano says that's a great idea. Currently, the Juneau Police Department employs 43. Area-wide services would require another 21 personnel, but not all of those would be hired at the same time.
That would be a major undertaking. We couldn't do that at, we just could not do that.
Serrano says area-wide police protection would be phased in and would require careful, thoughtful planning.
I would not like to see it become a panic situation, and we regret some things later that we do now because they weren't well thought out.
Serrano has said for years that the city police station is inadequate.
Where are we going to put these number of people? Again, it's going to be a little bit tight also, but what we plan at the present time is to utilize the new facility at the airport. That would give us a space for offices. That would also help out with the airport security police. That would give us a parking area for police vehicles, for personal vehicles to park, and also it would give a place where people living out in the valley to go to if they wanted to contact a police officer.
Ultimately, he says the city should build a new centrally located facility, probably in the Lemon Creek area. Serrano says he's delighted with the legislature's demand for local area-wide police.
That the community will be getting the police service that they want and what they deserve. They will have more of a say as to how their police department is run and how many people they want in there to run it.
The first dozen new police officers are expected on the job within the next fiscal year. A Southeast Alaska Native Village Corporation has become the first Native corporation to file for bankruptcy. The Heidelberg-based Haida Corporation filed for Chapter 11 last week. The Timber and Seafood Processing Corporation owes its top 20 creditors almost $3 million. The general manager of the 563 stockholder corporation says it was a tough but necessary move for the company. Well, a Juneau lawmaker says the Union Oil Company should not count on his support against unfriendly corporate takeover unless the firm does something about high gasoline prices in Southeast. Bob Scott reports.
The Union Oil Company, which has wells and service stations in Alaska, has become a target for takeover by oilman T. Boone Pickens. Union and other oil companies are lobbying in Washington, D.C. for legislation putting a moratorium on so-called hostile corporate takeovers, claiming it results in closures and job losses. Last week, Union asked for support from Alaska lawmakers. But the request came days after the State Attorney General's office completed an investigation into high gasoline prices in the Southeast area. The probe found the likely cause for the high prices to be a lack of spirited competition between the two wholesalers in the area, Chevron USA and the Union Oil Company.
I just can't work up any enthusiasm at all for assisting a company that's charging the prices to the consumers, the constituents that, that I represent in this district at the gas pump.
Miller says Anchorage and Seattle motorists pay less at the retail pumps than Southeast dealers pay wholesale.
Now, I realize that here in Southeast Alaska we've got a little bit of a freight problem. There has to be a difference. But that much difference is just absolutely ludicrous. And so when one of the two companies, writes to me and asks me a favor to help them out with their legislation, I just have to sort of politely say, no, thank you.
For Capitol View and the Alaska Network in Juneau, I'm Bob Scott.
Coming up in sports tonight, a look at judo in Juneau, no KO in Reno, and a solo blow beats Chicago. It's coming up next in sports as the Southeast Report continues.
If the front of your home or business doesn't look this adorable, call the Counterfeiters. They have many styles of quality hardwood doors in stock, some with elegant stained glass inserts. Contractors will want to check the low prices on interior and exterior pre-hung doors, including the insulated metal doors from Peachtree. The Counterfeiters are still the experts in kitchen countertops with over 200 colors available to choose from. Custom design work is their specialty, so if you're building or remodeling, call the Counterfeiters for a free estimate. The Counterfeiters, 5225 Glacier Avenue.
Sunlighting and Interiors has something new. Along with their wide selection of lamps, fixtures, and chandeliers in stock at their new store, they now have a new line of beautiful brass curio shelves and tables. Of course, Sunlighting has ceiling fans from Homestead and Thomas, and are once again offering custom-made draperies with free measuring and estimates. If you're building or remodeling your home, ask about their builder's discount. And if you don't find exactly what you want in stock, Sunlighting will be glad to order it for you and ship anywhere in Southeast Alaska. Visit Sunlighting and Interiors on Old Glacier Highway.
It hasn't gotten much notice, but that hasn't stopped judo from taking off the past few years in Juneau. There are over 60 members in the local club, and that is the largest in Alaska. This past weekend, Juneau hosted the Southeast Alaska Open at Mendenhall River School. It was an all-day affair that included 68 entrants ages 6 to 48 from Anchorage, Ketchikan, and Juneau. This was the first time any Anchorage black belts have made their way to the capital city. Juneau Judo Club President Brad Winton explains the sudden interest of coming to Juneau for judo.
The reason we got Anchorage competitors down here is we took a team to state for the first time in a long time. And we took 6 competitors up there and took 3 medals. And now that they've seen the kind of competition we have, they're interested in coming down and competing with us.
Another reason for the good turnout, good prizes.
We've got trophies for first, second, and third, the best throwing technique of the tournament. We also have 2 special awards, one for an inspirational team player, and the other one is our Outstanding Judoka of the Year, which is about a 1.5 foot high trophy. Plus, that person is going to get flown to the National Training Center in Colorado Springs and work out with the highest ranking black belts in the country for 1 week.
That fortunate person is 10-year-old Rachel Horner, who ended up winning her lightweight class for 10 and 11-year-olds. The 65-pound Horner had to go up against guys to get the title, but she says that's no big deal.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't really matter who I fight. It's just that as long as I do my best.
Up to 13 years of age, we allow the boys and girls to compete with each other because there's not a lot of difference that we found in the physical ability and the talent.
In the men's open division, Winton took first with this pin. Second went to Ken Burton, and third Gordon Nefkin. Nefkin gave everyone a scare about 10 seconds into his final match.
I went in for a Uchimata and missed. And kind of got tangled up and twisted my knee a little bit. Relaxed it, and it hurts a little bit, but you can still fight.
Nefkin not only came back in this match, but he won. It may have been win number 48 without a loss, and he may have only 2 fights to go from breaking Rocky Marciano's consecutive win streak of 49. But the toll last night's heavyweight fight took on Larry Holmes may have been too much for my throat, too. He's under a doctor's care, suffering from deep contusions, and that's something rarely seen from a unanimous winner. The effects of a less than